care homes now, and from the outbreak of the coronavirus, they have been a bleak battlefield. From having untested patients arriving from hospitals to make room for folk infected with COVID, via shortages of PPE to brutal restrictions on visiting rights for residents nearest and dearest, it's been very hard. Well, last night, it got harder. All staff must now be fully vaccinated against COVID or they lose their jobs. The NHS reckons about 50,000 haven't been jabbed, many more than the Health and Care Secretary estimated when he unveiled the policy. The National Care Forum reckons around 8%, nearly more than 1 in 10 of its staff, could have walked today or face being fired. And next up, of course, it's the NHS itself from April next year. Now, to be clear, however, this isn't just a medical question. For some, it is an ethical question and a scientific one too. It seems obvious that anyone who wants to work in the care sector, or the health service come to that, would want to do anything and everything in their power to keep their patients safe. Few, if any, in the NHS argue against having protection against hepatitis B, for example. But now it gets tricky. First, a good few argue this is simply an invasion of their civil liberties. In some cases, their religious beliefs too. The jab wasn't and couldn't have been a condition of employment when the vast majority joined the sector because neither it nor COVID existed. So to make it a condition of continued employment is a pretty fundamental shift. Others are genuinely fearful of some COVID vaccines, claiming that they are a form of unproven gene therapy, released from the laboratories into our arms without being fully tested according to the normal protocols. Among their supporters are those who say such has been the duration of the pandemic that many will have natural immunity now, so they don't need vaccination anyway. For any or all of these reasons, they have declined vaccination and presumably will continue to decline it. For the rest of us, especially if we have relatives on the threshold of becoming customers in the care sector, there's another grave concern. It's a sector already under pressure from huge labour shortages. The unions say more than 100,000 posts remain unfilled. Well, clearly this policy will compound that problem. Care homes are already closed. Many tonight are no longer accepting new admissions, and it's expected that some will be pointed in the direction of hospitals, that's would-be residents, and those hospitals are already hard-pressed with, albeit declining COVID cases, but certainly wrestling with rising waiting lists. The fact that similar rules or mandates already exist in France and Greece, and an even tougher rule in the United States where all federal employees must be jabbed, is not going to make a lot of difference to the morally and scientifically reluctant. Now, here at GB News, there are a range of views on this very difficult question. For my part, it is a call on the balance of probabilities. On the science of the vaccinations, I will simply tell you that I have had all 3 doses offered to me. On freedom of choice and what might seem like the actions of a dictatorial state, I'm in favour of what may seem by some to be an imposition for the well-being of the majority. But I do find the trickiest part employment law. To introduce a new condition of work and make it mandatory, i.e. do it or face the sack, seems to me draconian. I think it could even, should perhaps, open employers and the government who instigated it as policy to actions for damages on the grounds of unfair dismissal.